Hello, welcome to another Zoo Time with Mikey and Molly. I'm teacher Molly, and today we are actually going to do some traveling, and we are going to the Americas. So behind me I have a map of North America, and Central America is part of North America right here, and South America. And teacher Ann actually made this background for us. She's also an artist as well as being an awesome zoo teacher, which is pretty cool. And if you weren't expecting to be traveling today, you're like, wait, I've been at home for over a month. I'm not ready to leave the house. Don't worry, we're starting at home in North America, and we're actually starting with our state reptile. And while I get her out, does anyone have a guess what type of animal our state reptile is? Remember, reptiles are cold-blooded. They have scales covering their body. They lay eggs on land, or they incubate their eggs inside of them, but they need air to breathe. So if you have a guess, type it into that Q&A, and teacher Mikey will tell me what you think our state reptile is, the reptile that represents California. Any guesses yet, Mikey? I saw someone raise their hand.
Oh wow, they have desert tortoise.
What? Oh, yes, okay. You guys know what's up. Our state reptile is the desert tortoise, and this is Arizona, our desert tortoise, and you might be like, but Arizona is not California. So they are actually native to the Sonoran and Mojave deserts, and they have this little yellow sticker. So the Sonoran and the Mojave deserts go into California and Arizona, thank you, and then also down a little bit into Baja California in Mexico. So that's where you would find this tortoise in the wild. And we love them so much. They're pretty cool. They have these long claws to dig burrows that they live in. So they live in a series of burrows that are connected underground. And they have those long claws, and they have this really big domed shell so that they can have a lot of lung space and capacity. So they fill up their lungs with air to breathe, and then they go underground where there isn't a lot of air, but they filled up their lungs so they can still breathe oxygen while they're in their burrows. Usually 3 or 4 tortoises will share a burrow, but we found burrows with up to 20 tortoises inside, which is pretty cool. And they're actually endangered. That means there's not very many of them left in the wild, and that's for a couple reasons. When they hatch out of eggs, they're altricial. So altricial means that they're not ready to be fully on their own. Their shells are soft for the first 5 years of their lives, and they're really vulnerable to being eaten. So one thing that happens is people love to go to the desert for vacation or little trips, go camping, and sometimes we leave a lot of trash behind. And the trash we leave attracts ravens and crows. And ravens and crows love to eat baby tortoises. And in one hatchling season, they found 250 baby tortoise shells in one raven's nest. So one raven can eat 250 baby tortoises in one season, and that's a lot. And we're bringing more of those birds into their habitat by leaving our trash behind. So one way you guys can help these guys out is just by picking up all your trash and leaving no trace when you're out in the wild. Another thing that threatens them is off-roading vehicles. A lot of people like to go driving through the desert really fast. It's really fun. But if you drive over their dens, they collapse because your cars are too heavy, and that destroys their homes. And you might not even realize that you're driving over a burrow because they're underground and you don't see them. So we ask if you do any four-wheeling off-road that you stick to marked trails. People will actually go out and scout and try to see if they are any burrows, and if they don't find any desert tortoise burrows, they'll put trail marks and signs up to say it's okay to drive here, so just don't go driving anywhere you're not supposed to. But a lot of you guys are too young to drive, so don't even worry about that. Something you can do to help is if you see them in the wild, leave them be. A lot of times people want to go up and pet them and check them out, and that can really scare and startle them. They're prey animals. They have this shell so they can pull their arms and legs inside and hide from predators who want to eat them. And if you scare them, they pee. they evacuate all of their liquids that are inside their body. And in the desert, it's really hard to find liquids. They get most of their liquids from the plants they eat. They're herbivores. She was just munching on some lettuce. She was having a lettuce snack. So she tries to store this water. And if she pees because she's scared, she could actually die from dehydration. So if you see them, let them be. Don't bother them because peeing can be dangerous in the desert. Who knew? One way they collect water is they'll actually dig reservoirs. They'll scratch in the dirt with these long claws when it rains, and the rainwater will collect in these scratch marks, and then they'll drink out of these little reservoirs they've made with their scratchy claws, which is pretty cool. I've seen a couple hands. Do we have any typed questions right now, Mikey?
We don't. Can you just reiterate the one more time, Miss Molly? We might have some new friends here today.
Okay.
Sorry, just switch it to Q&A instead of raising hands.
Yes. So if you have a question, just type it out in the Q&A that should be at the bottom of your screen. And Miss Mikey is our moderator, and so she'll be able to read that. So don't raise your hand. Does not, I can't call on you. But if you type something or you have an adult type for you, then we can read those and we can get some questions in. Pretty cool. During breeding season, the males will actually bite and nudge the females when they want to have babies. But the females are pretty choosy. They can choose who they want to have babies with. They can actually have babies with more than one male at a time, which is pretty cool. It takes 20 years for them to become adults, so similar to us, actually even longer. We technically become adults before we're 20 years old, but they are not adults until they're 20. In the wild, they live 35 to 50 years, but in captivity here at a zoo, they can live for over 100 years. So this girl can be 100 years old, and she is the largest tortoise, land desert tortoise in North America, which is pretty cool. So here where we live, North America, she's the biggest tort that you will find.
Okay.
You have some cues?
Yes. How old is she? How old is she?
I think she's in her 20s, right, Miss Mikey?
I believe so. I think she's late 20s. I'll check for sure.
So she's definitely fully grown. Mikey thinks late 20s. But she's a young lady for a desert tortoise, and she's younger than our other tortoises.
All right. We have a question from Miss Tina Keegan, who says, what if the turtle burrows in the road?
Oh, that could be pretty dangerous with those cars driving overhead. So we might want to try to relocate that tortoise. But I don't know. I haven't actually heard much about when they come to our land. It's hard because we had these beautiful big deserts out west here, and then people moved in and started building our habitats and our infrastructure, and that really encroaches on their land, and we have to find new solutions to live with these animals. Some things people have been doing are these greenways where you can either dig a tunnel under a road or build a bridge over a freeway or a road, and then animals can pass safely, because so many animals have highways and roads splitting up their homes and habitats, and to get across is really dangerous, and we see so many animals hit by cars and a lot of roadkill. So maybe if you dug a tunnel under the ground that was strong enough to hold up the road, then those desert tortoises could go safely. But I'm not sure if there are key spots where we're doing that right now, but that'd be something I want to do more research on.
Yeah. The next question is, when and why do they go in their shell?
They go in their shell for protection. So if a predator comes and tries to have a tortoise snack, they can pull their legs and their head inside, and it's something that's special for land tortoises and turtles, or freshwater guys. Sea turtles can't actually pull their limbs into their shell. They can only pull, I think, maybe their head in. So this shell is hard. It's made out of the same thing our fingernails are made out of, so she can feel it when we touch her on her back, when we do nice gentle touches. But I wouldn't want to take a bite out of this. It's very tough. It's made out of keratin, so she can protect her soft body parts by pulling it inside of her shell.
Okay, we have a couple more questions.
Cool.
Was she born in captivity?
I think she was. The way we tend to get animals is either we trade them with other zoos, or they've been injured in the wild and they can't survive, or they've been orphaned, so we take them in. But yeah, I'm pretty sure she was born in a zoo.
And I also think that some of our animals came to us as pets.
I'm so sorry. She's peeing on me. It's so much pee. I'm not that worried about her evacuating her bladder right now, because we always make sure that she has access to water. So she gets a lot of water here at the zoo. Oh, Arad said we lost video.
We did lose video, and now it's back. But so everyone missed you getting peed on.
All right, exciting. We lost video for a second. We're videotaping on Mikey's phone, and she just got a phone call. And then what you really missed was Arizona peeing on me, and she's still peeing on me. I'm so sorry, you guys. My lap is so wet.
Even tell
my
how
gosh.
much pee.
Oh, please don't, Mikey. It's like all the way down my legs.
Oh my goodness.
So I was just saying that even though she just peed on me, I'm not worried about her evacuating her bladder in captivity, because here at the zoo, she always has access to water. We give her lots of water and lots of greens. I just showed you she was snacking, so even though she just peed on me, maybe not the most I've ever been peed on. The most I've ever been peed on is by a bunny rabbit for sure. But I'm not worried about her health, because we're just gonna give her more water, so she's not gonna get dehydrated in the zoo. But boy, you just missed.
Yes. Do you need to tell me
a waterfall?
Are you?
Maybe in a second. Do I have any more questions?
Yeah, there's a couple more. I'm gonna give you a couple questions so I can go and grab a towel really quickly for you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Mikey.
One is, where does it live? How slow are turtles? How big are her claws?
So many questions. Okay, I'm gonna start with that. Okay, so she lives in burrows underground in the Sonoran and Mojave deserts, which is this yellow dot right here on my map. And obviously the Sonoran and the Mojave deserts are more than just this one dot, but that's kind of a central place where we can kind of, here it is, point and say that's where she lives. Her claws, this is how big her claws are. And you can see that the scales on the front of her legs are quite large, and that's so she can sort of, when she pulls her head in her shell, she sticks her arms in front of her like this to protect her face. And if anyone scratches these scales, it's like extra body armor right on her, right there. So she's in her late 20s, we believe, but I think I mentioned it takes them 20 years to become adults. I'll grab this towel. Thank you, Miss Mikey, so much. Oh my gosh, beautiful. And then, yeah, I'll clean her up. Oh, she's good. She's dry. She's put it all on me. And then they live for about 50 years. And then I think there was a middle question, Mikey, you asked me in between, where do they live and how long her nails are, that I just forgot.
How slow are they?
How slow are they?
I don't know if that was it. I'm sorry. What did she eat?
We'll do both of those. Okay. So I actually don't know how fast they can move. Because they're cold-blooded, they don't make their own body heat. She needs to get heat from the sun. So she'll go out in warm times and bask in the sun to get warm. And she tries to conserve all that energy from the sun. And she only moves she only moves fast when she has to. So her first defense is to stay right where she is if she's under attack and pull her arms, legs, and head into her shell. But if she really needs to, she can have bursts of speed, but that takes a lot out of her. And I don't know how fast they can move. I don't think very fast. And they don't hunt. They don't chase their food. They eat plants. They're herbivores. So she doesn't have to move fast to catch her food. So she would be pretty slow. I don't know how slow. Sometimes she doesn't move at all.
And then, so the fastest speed, it looks like, is the sea turtle, and they can go 6.3 miles per hour.
Whoa, that's not very fast at all.
A normal tortoise.
It's like us walking sometimes.
The Guinness Book of World Record for the fastest tortoise is 0.63 miles per hour. Okay. 0.63. So not even.
not even a mile per hour. So I guess they can't really have bursts of speed. They're just going to stay right where they are. They're not fast at all.
Okay. That is good for our training.
I'm going to put her down, and thank you so much for the towels, Ms. Mikey. I just wanted, before I grab him, I wanted to show, these are a bunch of ping pong balls, but this is mimicking a cluster of turtle eggs. So they would lay their eggs in a big bunch in a hole they dug underground, and we have a comparison of size. So this is accurate to how big different tortoises and turtles. So we have the hawksbill sea turtle is pretty small. Sorry about the glare, friends. And then we have the Ridley sea turtles a little bigger, logger-headed sea turtle, green sea turtle, and this big guy is from a leatherback sea turtle. So these are all sea turtles, but this is how big their eggs would be. Those are big old leatherbacks have big old eggs.
And I checked, and Arizona was born in 95, so it is her 25th birthday.
She's a year younger than me. I was born in 94. So I just turned 26, and she just turned 25. All right, beautiful. Our next animal is also a reptile. Oh my gosh, who is this guy? This is a Pacific gopher snake. He is native, so we actually found him in the Silicon Valley, the Bay Area. This is Coolie, that's his name, and he's just a couple years old, so he's a little baby snake, but they can live 15, 16 years in the wild, and you would find them on the Pacific coast. So gopher snakes in general have a very wide range up into Canada, across the United States, but Pacific gopher snakes are found on our California coast and possibly up into Oregon and Washington. And he's very cute. He's not venomous. He's a constrictor. He lives in dry grasslands, and he's called a gopher snake because he eats little animals like gophers, and gophers live in burrows underground, and when he eats a gopher by squeezing and constricting them, he then moves into their home to get out of the hot sun, to get away from any predators who might want to eat him. So gardeners and farmers love having him around because gophers and other pests eat all of the farmers' plants and those beautiful food and grains that they're trying to grow. And then he comes along and he eats all the rats and the mice and the gophers, and he just takes care of that garden. So we love him for that. Usually he's active during the day. He's diurnal, except for in the summer when it gets so hot, he becomes nocturnal and he suns. He sleeps out on a rock in the sun, and he gets all that warmth during the day, and then at night he goes out hunting. He has so many muscles. He's so strong. You can see him tying himself into knots, and I'm not even holding him up. I'm just doing this with my hand. He's holding himself up. Such a cutie patootie pie right here. During mating season, the males actually wrestle with each other. They get intertwined. It looks like knots, and they'll wrestle for an hour. And sometimes you see them and you're like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? They're having a wrestling match. Two boys seeing who is the strongest. And these guys are pretty strong constrictors. They can even eat other snakes sometimes. So he's just a little guy, but as he grows bigger, he can take on some other snakes. He can't eat anything that's bigger than the widest part of his body, but he swallows his prey whole, and he can open his mouth up really, really big. If you were a snake, grab your wrist. Do it right now. Grab your wrist. Hold it above your head. If you were a snake, Mikey's doing it. Thank you, Miss Mikey. If you're a snake, this is how big your mouth would be. So if I was a snake, I could swallow a whole watermelon without chewing it and be fine. Maybe you could swallow a whole cantaloupe. That big. So they can swallow really, really big food, open their mouths up really, really wide. When he hunts, he depends on his sense of smell, his little tongue sticking out. That is his strongest sense. But when he's scared, when someone's attacking him, he pretends he's a rattlesnake. So remember, he's from here. He's not venomous, but the venomous snake we have here is a rattlesnake. And he has a special organ in his mouth called a glottis organ. And when you threaten him, he'll flatten his head, he'll make S curves, and he hisses, and he opens and closes that glottis organ really fast, and it makes the sound of a rattling tail. So he shakes his tail. His tail's not making any noise, but he makes the rattle noise with his mouth, and it sounds to your ear like it's coming from his tail, and you're like, oh my God, I'm not gonna even mess with that rattlesnake, and you're gonna get out of here. And he's gonna go, ha ha ha, I was a gopher snake the whole time, fooled you. So he does mimicry, he copies rattlesnakes to chase away predators who want to eat him. Yeah. Any questions, Ms. Mikey?
Yes. Okay. So does Coolie eat live food or alive food?
Not here at the zoo. So we never feed live. In the wild, he chases prey who are running away from him, and he catches them and he wins. In captivity, we have him in an enclosure, an enclosed space, so he can't escape because he's a good little escape artist. And if we put a live animal in with him who also couldn't escape, sorry, he's getting off screen, then that animal would turn around and bite him. And even if he was able to eat them, he could get bitten and scratched in his face, in his vulnerable eyes, and we do not want him hurt. So what we do is we get dead frozen mice, and we warm them up. You can like defrost them in a warm bowl of water or nuke them in the microwave, and then we might take a long pair of tongs and wiggle it in front of him, or we might just put it on a plate and let him go after it, and then he'll swallow those little dead mice whole, and that keeps him safe. And it's also less stressful for the mice, right? Like, they had a peaceful death. They get eaten after they're dead. If they're getting eaten by a live snake, that might not be a fun experience for them. So, best case scenario for everyone involved. And he's actually a little chunky right now. It's great we're taking him out. He gets taken out a lot more during the year when the schools are open, because the schools are closed. We haven't had quite as much time to take him out, so he's getting a little lazy. But Teacher Ann and ourselves have been working really hard while we're here at the zoo helping out to take him out and give him some exercise. A couple more questions?
Yeah, you have two more that are really good. How does it eat gopher? Gobble up or bite to death and eat little by little?
Oh yeah, they don't eat anything little by little. So what he does is he has teeth, and his teeth point backwards to the back of his head. So he doesn't have any arms or legs, so he can't grab a gopher with his hand. So he grabs a gopher with his mouth and his teeth, and if they try to back up, they actually wind up impaling themselves on his teeth that are facing backwards. So as they back up, they get stuck to his teeth, and then he swallows them whole. He does not eat them. Remember, he's only a couple years old, so he's a little baby. So you might be like, how does he eat a gopher? He'll probably, he'll probably be 5 feet when he's fully grown. They usually get to be about 2 to 7 feet, average 6 to 3 feet long. See if I can, he's like 2 feet right now, so he might grow 3 more feet. So he'll get big as he gets older, and snakes slowly grow throughout their entire life. So if he's a couple years old and he can live to be 15 or 16, he'll get a lot bigger and he'll get gopher eating sized.
Okay. Can he, this is like another question that has to do with that. Can he overeat and get sick?
Snakes only eat about once every 2 weeks or once a month, and animals are pretty good at telling when they're full, especially snakes. It takes a lot of energy for them to digest an animal that they ate whole. So they get really lethargic, and after they eat, they usually go and hide. Maybe he'll eat in a gopher hole, and then he'll just stay in that gopher hole while he's digesting, and he's not going out and hunting. So it would be hard for him to overeat, but it is important that right after we feed them here at the zoo, we don't handle them. We give them a lot of time to digest before we take them out into classes again, because it is a big deal for them to eat a whole animal and try to break it down into their body parts and into poop. So yeah, that's a great question. I don't think he would eat too much, but the bigger food he eats, the more time it takes to digest, but also the more time until he needs to go hunting again. So he'll try to take as much food as he can, and then he won't have to go hunting again for a while. He's pretty good at telling how much he can swallow, so I don't think he'd ever choke and try to eat something that's too big for him. But those are some interesting questions.
Okay, can I ask one more? Last one?
Yeah.
Okay. What is venom?
Oh, venom is something that they have in their teeth. Not him, but a rattlesnake or another type of venomous snake like a cobra has venom glands in their mouth, and when they bite you, they actually inject venom into your blood, into your skin, and it makes you really sick and sometimes can even kill you. And it's also what bees do. So when they sting you, they're injecting venom. It's different than poison. Poison is if you touch it or you eat it, then you'll get sick. But venom is something that animals can inject into you to make you sick. Plants can't be venomous, but plants can be poisonous, like if you touch poison oak. All right, I'm gonna give him back to you, Miss Mikey, and then I'm gonna show a few snake artifacts, which are pretty cool. So you saw how he was twisting himself up into knots, but he's actually full of bones. And this is a snake skeleton. There's glare, but you can see how many ribs they have. You can see that long tail. This is their tail, and the rest of their body has organs. You can see the head. So they have these long spines, lots of vertebrae, lots of ribs, and they're full of bones, even though they're so twisty and bendy. And I'm gonna show you, all of these pictures are really glossy, but what I want to show you is his muscles, which helps him move and makes him so strong. These are all the muscles they have in their body. All this red and pink stuff and brown stuff is all muscles. So his whole body is full of way more muscles than we have. And he is an egg layer, not Coolie, because Coolie is a boy and only girl snakes can lay eggs. But if he was a girl, he would lay eggs. And we saw Rosie last week. She wouldn't lay eggs. She'd incubate her eggs inside of her. But this is a snake egg. This is from a python. And you can see it's not shaped the way chicken eggs are shaped. It's kind of leathery and soft. Not super squishy, still hard. But this is what a gopher snake egg would be smaller, but it would kind of look like this. All right, should we move on to our last North American animal? She's super cool. I love her so much. She's an animal that a lot of people have never encountered before, but let me grab her. Okay. This is Miss Roonie. I'm actually just gonna stand up for this one. She's a vinegaroon. She's a type of whiptail scorpion. She is an invertebrate with that hard exoskeleton. So this part of her body is really hard. Her bones are on the outside of her body, not the inside like ours are. And she's an arachnid like spiders and scorpions, which means she has 8 legs. She actually has 6 that she walks on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And her front 2 are modified antennae. So this one and this other one are actually her legs, but she uses them to feel her way around, one of her main sensory organs. She has terrible eyesight, but she's covered with tiny hairs on her body that help her sense vibrations, and then these long 2 front legs that help her feel around. And these front legs are a little hard to see. I'm trying to get the lighting right. And then she doesn't have a stinger like a scorpion in the back. She has this whip tail, and she's called a vinegaroon, because she produces acetic acid, which is the fancy name for vinegar, and she creates it from her body. It goes to the base of her tail, and when a predator tries to eat her, she whips it. She flings that tail, and she gets her acid. She tries to aim for your eyes. She can shoot up to 2 feet. And if it gets into your eyes, it would really sting and burn. If it just gets onto my skin, it wouldn't burn. It's vinegar. I could eat it, but I wouldn't want to pour vinegar into my eyes. That would be very uncomfortable. Right now, she has her jaw, her mandibles open right here in the front, and she uses that to hunt prey. She eats little invertebrates, other arthropods, and things with hard exoskeletons, and she uses that acetic acid she makes to break down their hard shells, and then she crushes them in these big pinchers, and she brings them into her mouth, and she has a yummy, yummy snack. And you're like, oh my gosh, these are from North America? Can I find them in my yard? Probably not. She's native to more dry, deserty, rocky areas, but you will find her in the western United States. And let's go look at our map, our North America map. This blue dot right here is right in between Arizona and New Mexico, and those are the states you most commonly find her in, is Arizona and New Mexico. Other species can be found in Texas and other parts of North America and other parts of the world. But yeah, so she's native to the western United States. Do we have any questions about her, Miss Mikey?
Yeah. Can they use their acid for anything else?
So other than protecting themselves and flinging acid at your eyes, she can also use it to break down the hard shells and exoskeleton of the food she eats.
Okay. How do they sense their environment?
So she uses these modified front legs, kind of like antenna, to feel her way around. And then she has little hairs that sense vibrations on her body. And she's almost blind. She doesn't really see very well.
Do we know how old she is? I don't know.
I don't know. We had another one named Vinny who actually had broken his whiptail and it was crooked. And we had him for, well, as soon as I started working here. And then he died recently and we've only had her for the last year, I believe, only at the new site.
Okay.
All right. We are going to travel to South America. So I'm going to put Miss Roonie away, maybe see if she wants some crickets. All right, are you ready, guys? We're leaving home, leaving North America and going to South America. You can't see the tip, but it's right down here at the bottom. Okay, and we are going to check out a really cool invertebrate. Oh, yeah. This is a dubia cockroach. And this is a male because he has these long wings. They actually rarely fly. They can't fly very far, but the males have these big wings. And this is an insect. So we just saw an arachnid, but this guy has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 legs. They're actually not great climbers, but this is a decomposer. He would eat lots of fruits and grains and break those down and turn them back into earth. So we like having these little cockroaches around. And these guys are native to Central and South America. They have a very wide range. So Central America is actually part of North America. Very different. Some people who live here, though, consider themselves their own continent. They don't always like being associated with North America. And then down into South America, there are 2 large populations of dubia cockroaches in Guyana and in Argentina, which is down here. So this Argentina has a big population and Guyana up here. So you can really find these animals all over the continent, eating things and breaking them down. Oh my gosh, he flipped over. How silly. I want to show you a girl because they look pretty different. Oh my gosh, where are you ladies? Hello, ladies. Oh my goodness, here we go. They're actually a type of orange spotted wood roach. The girls only have teeny tiny wing buds. They don't even have full wings. And you can see some of those orange spots. So it's really obvious, telling the girls and the boys apart. They are ovoviviparous. Say that with me, ovoviviparous. That means they incubate their eggs inside them, just like the snake Tiki we saw last week. She doesn't lay eggs. She has a big long egg sac that comes out. The male fertilizes it. She brings it back into her body, and then the babies hatch inside of her, and they come out looking like live birth. They're called nymphs, and she can have 20 to 40 nymphs per month. So that averages once a day. She averages 1 baby a day. They can start having babies at 4 to 6 months of age, and they only live 1 or 2 years. So they don't live very long, but they can have a lot of babies in that time. Does anyone have any questions that they maybe want to type out?
We have a couple. It says, how is its eyesight?
Oh, I don't know. I think that's a great question. They have these long antennae that you can actually see moving around a little bit right now. So they definitely mainly use antenna to sense their environment, but I think that they would see better than the vinegaroon. I think they do have some sort of light and dark eye spots. I'm not sure the extent of their vision, though. That's a cool question. I never thought about it.
What are their defenses?
Ooh, I'm not actually sure. I know that they're a really good food source that a lot of people like eating cockroaches. A lot of animals eat the baby cockroaches. I don't know if they can make any sort of a stinky smell. I haven't heard of that. They're really good hiders. They like to find logs. So when I had them, let me actually show you how good they are at hiding. See if I can figure this out. So they have these big logs in their enclosure, and they're all, you can kind of see them, they're all underneath. So if I lift up the log, they're all underneath the logs. But if you were just walking through the forest, they'd be hard to find unless you lifted up those logs. But what, yeah, good question, because they definitely are prey. They're not predators. They eat decaying plant matter. Any other questions, Miss Mikey?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry, we have a question back about the about the vinegar.
Yeah. I was trying to grab some boy and a girl for you guys to look at. Yeah.
Okay. The vinegaroon wants to know, does she know when to fling her tail?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
When she's threatened. So if she is scared that you're going to eat her, she will fling her tail. When they've been overexcited in classes, I've actually smelled the vinegar, so she starts to secrete. She's never flung at me. I've never had a vinegaroon fling at me. But as soon as they get overstimulated, there's maybe too much noise, too many people touching them, too much going on, they'll start to secrete that acid, and it smells just like vinegar. It's the same thing. Well, upside down.
Back to the dubias.
Yeah.
They want to know, how does she go to the bathroom?
They have something called a cloaca. So the same place where she would have her babies come out and her eggs, she would also go potty out of that same one hole for all of their needs. But just like us, you know, they eat food and then they poop. When they poop, it's dirt. They poop out something very nutritious for the soil, fertilizer.
And then another question that says, where does it live? And I know you told us they lived in Argentina and Chile, but
you meant Guyana.
Guyana and Chile.
Although Argentina.
Argentina.
I bet you could find them in Chile. I bet they're there too.
Where in those places, where do they live in their habitat? Within their habitat?
Yeah, mostly on the ground, under rocks and logs, probably in more, I would think, rainforesty type places. I'm not sure that they are a rainforest animal. I think they also are probably a house pet too. So I think they come into people's homes, and you find them in a lot of urban areas because they eat fruits and grains. So anywhere where you have a kitchen, a restaurant, farmland, they're probably there. They are very widespread, and cockroaches are especially adaptable. We talked about adaptations with Miss Mikey in our first class. That means they can live in probably a lot of different temperatures and types of environments, as long as they have food sources and a place to hide, and they are such expert hiders. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if we know this. I can try to look it up, but it says, what is the color of their blood?
Probably clear. I think most arthropods have clear blood.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to take out our last animal. I think we're ready for a lady.
Mm-hmm.
The cockroaches are really good escape artists, so I have to tuck them in, but give me 1 second. Well, I put their netting and their lid. We love 2-system lockdown enclosures just so we don't lose our animals. Especially those little babies, the nymphs. Oh, they can get through the smallest cracks you would not even believe. Okay. Our last lady is from Chile, which was why Mikey kept saying it. We have this little red dot. It's a little hard to see, but Chile is this country on the coast of South America. This is a Chilean rose-haired tarantula. We call her Rosie because of this beautiful pink rose, dusty rose coloration right there on her back. You won't only find her in Chile. She doesn't care about borders. She lives in desert and scrub regions of South America, but she is a Chilean rose-haired tarantula. You can kind of see her eyes. Oh, no, not if I put it too low. Her eyes clustered right here on top. her cephalothorax, that's her head and where all of her legs come out of, and her abdomen with these spinnerets in the back where she weaves her web. And she has 8 walking legs. She's an arachnid, just like Roonie was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You might think I skipped 2 legs. She has 2 little pedipalps in the front. Those are false legs. They're not for walking. They're for feeling her way around because she doesn't have any antenna. And they're for catching her prey and bringing it to her fangs in her mouth. Okay. So she's got these 2 little legs in the front called pedipalps, extra legs. And she is so hairy because these hairs are sensitive to vibrations, and they're how she feels her way around. She does not, she doesn't spin a web up in a tree like a lot of spiders. She actually lives in burrows underground, kind of like our tortoises, and she spins her web right at the front door of the burrow, and she spins it on the ground. And if a little bug like a cricket walks by and steps on that burrow, steps on the web outside her burrow, the web shakes and it's actually connected to her spinneret. So all the hairs on her body shake and she goes, there's food out there. And she jumps out, she ambushes her prey, she grabs them with these little pedipalps, pulls them back into her burrow, bites them with her fangs, which are full of venom, injects her venom inside the cricket. All of the cricket's insides turn into liquid, and she drinks it like a little cricket milkshake. So she uses her fangs like straws, and she goes, and she drinks the liquid insides. She leaves the hard exoskeleton. She doesn't eat that. She also uses these hairs as a defense. So when she's scared, she'll take her back legs and she'll kick her hairs off at you. And they're an irritant. They're super itchy. If they get in your face, you'll have to scratch, scratch, scratch. You might break out in a rash or hives. And you don't want to eat something that's just thrown itchy, oily hairs into your eyes. She kicks her hairs up into a cloud, and they're very oily hairs, so they really will stick to your skin. And so her hairs help her sense her environment, but they also help defend her, which is crazy cool. She's such a good climber. She has 2 little hooks, nails, like a kitty cat claw at the end of each foot to hook into things while she's climbing and helping her hold onto my hand right now. She does have this hard exoskeleton. So our bones are on the inside of our body. Her bones are on the outside of her body. If she wants to grow bigger, she's squished inside of her bones. So she actually has to break open her exoskeleton. She'll contract and expand her body, building up pressure until this pink part pops off like a little secret trap door. She pulls all her legs out. She crawls out. She'll be white. Her body, her soft, squishy body, very vulnerable, expands a little bit. So she gets a little bit bigger and she grows a whole new exoskeleton. I'm going to put her down because I want to show you one of her exoskeletons from this tarantula. Miss Rosie. Here it is. So cool. So I want to see if I can show you her fangs. Oh, it's so hard to see in the camera. So her fangs would be right in here, but I'm not picking it up in here, you guys. But this is her old exoskeleton. So this is not a live spider. It's not even a dead spider. It's just the old exoskeleton from Rosie, who is still currently alive. Just like you guys grow out of your old clothes as you go bigger, she grows out of her skeleton. And then if I open this up a little bit, there's all these holes where she pulled her legs out of from here, and she's missing her back. So this was her back with her little bit of pink hair. She had her eyes at the top, her eye clumps. She can have 8 eyes. And she popped this up off and pulled out her entire body. This is from a pink-toed tarantula, different type of tarantula, but you can see those holes where they pull all of their legs out of and her pedipalps, and she pulls her whole body out. This was the back door that got popped off. So for rose hair tarantulas, the females can live for 20 years. The males only live for 6 years. So the boys, they find a girl, they have babies, they die. And the boys don't help raise the babies. The females have these large egg sacs, and they can have 500 spiderlings in one egg sac. Imagine having 499 brothers and sisters. I have one brother, that's enough. He's great, but I don't want any more. And mom doesn't even help raise them. The babies are precocial. That means they can take care of themselves once they hatch. They're on their own. Most of them will get eaten when they're very small. That's why she has 500, because she knows most of her babies will get eaten, but a few will survive into adulthood. Do you have some questions, Ms. Mikey?
Yes. Does she bite? Will she bite you?
Does she bite? Yeah. Did you hear that story about the cricket? She has venom in her fangs. She bites her food. She injects it with venom. Its insides turn to liquid. It doesn't have to be a cricket. Could have been a dubia cockroach. I don't know, some small animal. Maybe a mouse. Maybe a really small mouse. And then she uses her fangs, her bitey fangs, to drink all those liquids out from inside. So her fangs are right above my hand right now. Let's see if I can. I tried to show you. I tried to be so gentle with her and show you. She's so bitey. Right under there. You see the red part? That's like right where her fangs are. And her fangs are actually black, but they're right there. Has she ever bitten a person? No.
Yeah, will she bite you while you are holding?
Absolutely not. Never. No. Because remember, her first defense, if she's scared, is to kick hairs. And she's never kicked hairs at my face, but I have seen her scratch her hairs off, and I've been like, oh, you don't want to come out today? I put you right down. And then for our display tarantulas, sometimes people, I can't believe they do this, but they tap on the glass. And remember I said she's so sensitive to vibrations, it's so loud for her, that I've seen our display tarantulas kick all their hairs at the glass, which of course doesn't hurt the people who are tapping, unfortunately. But it's very, very stressful. Never ever tap on an animal's glass. I don't know how many times I have to say that, but they'll kick their hairs. If she bit me, I would probably throw her or squish her. I'm not while I'm handling her. But if you were a person and you picked up a tarantula and they bit you, you're so much bigger than them that they know they'll probably die. So they're not gonna bite you unless it's like a dire situation. They bite little things when they're eating. If she bit me, it would be like a bee sting. It would really hurt, and I'd have to ice it, maybe put some like Benadryl itch cream on it. But it wouldn't have to go to the hospital. It's not an emergency situation. She doesn't have enough venom to turn my entire body into liquid. Okay, so she just doesn't have enough venom in her body to really hurt me. They're so gentle and docile, they would never even try to bite me. But if you were allergic, you might go into anaphylactic shock and have to go to the hospital. But I'm not, first of all, I'm not even a little bit worried about her biting me. And even if she did, I could handle it really easily.
Okay, thank you so much. How many eyes does she have?
8. She's got like 4 little ones in bunches on each side of her head. So spiders and tarantulas can have anywhere from 2 to 8 eyes.
Great. Yeah. Where does she leave the exoskeleton when she molts?
Probably right where she ate. She doesn't like move it anywhere, and then it'll just break down over time.
Okay. And then this is the question about, do you know how old she is?
Actually, not sure how old she is. We have to go look up all the dates for how old.
Well, we don't have. I have
5
the
or
birthdays, but we don't have pup birthdays.
We don't have pup birthdays. Yeah, we got her from another zoo, I think, or a breeder. Yeah. So she was not born in the wild. We don't take them from Chile and South America. So she was born in captivity, and she's so good. When they're comfortable, they'll actually start weaving web on you. And I've had her in classes from showing her to the kids, and she'll start spinning web. It's so special. She's such a sweetheart. But yeah, we could have her for 20 years. The girls live for 20 years, and we tend to get girls because they're bigger and they live longer. Any other questions?
Yeah, the last question is, what time of the day is she most active?
Oh, evening and nighttime. So she comes out as the sun goes down, and she's mostly nocturnal. Great question. By the way, Arizona, our desert tortoise, is something called cathemeral. So you guys know diurnal when you're awake during the day, you know nocturnal when you're awake at night, you know crepuscular, which is dawn and dusk. Cathemeral is kind of random. It means they get up for a little bit, they go back to sleep for a little bit, they get up for a little bit, they go back to sleep for a little bit. And so desert tortoises are sort of somewhat sporadically awake. Jaguars are another animal that is cathemeral. So new vocab word for you. Cathemeral is when they're up and down throughout the day.
Like Mike. The absolute last question is, does it hurt when she shoots her hairs?
It's itchy, and if it gets into your eyes, yes, it hurts. It's like a burning, stinging, I want to rip out my eyes sensation. I have never gotten these hairs in my eyes, but I have gotten them on my hands. I just go and I wash my hands and it's fine. But for a little bit, you're like, ooh, I want to scratch. Itchy, itchy.
Sometimes they put them in itching powder.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting. What do people use itching powder mostly for, Mikey? Is that like a practical joke? Like, oh, I get some tarantula hairs.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All hard question.
Do we have any more questions?
No, that is all of them.
Okay, that was our last animal. I love ending on her because she's so cool. So we traveled from North America to South America, and next week we're gonna go traveling with teacher Mikey. Any last thoughts, feedback, comments, questions, concerns? Type them in to the Q&A. We usually leave it open for about 10 minutes, even after we leave, just to catch up with you guys. But I'm gonna put it on mute unless there's any last thoughts. All right. Truly, I honestly hope to see you on Monday because we started a new Monday science class on not animals, on different topics. But it's pretty fun. Mikey did volcanoes this week and it was pretty explosive. But yeah, otherwise, see you on Wednesday for a cool Mikey lesson.